Every 113 years, when the Gorgon's Head Comet appears in the sky, an ancient and magical tomb materialises on an uncharted island somewhere in the centre of the Bermuda Triangle. The tomb holds the treasures of countless lost worlds and places out of myth. El Dorado, Shangri-La, Atlantis, Avalon, Mount Olympus and Valhalla. Older than civilization itself, it's a place of ancient artefacts, mystical treasures and forbidden secrets hidden away out of the hands of mankind. The Eternal Order of Perseus has protected the world against the powers of evil since the time of the ancient Greeks. They are the custodians and the ultimate guardians of the world's oldest secrets and unknown mysteries. Mysteries so powerful that, in the wrong hands, they could alter the course of fate itself. You and your fellow members of the Order bring your expertise and unique talents to explore the lost tomb and the unknown forces that, until now, held back the primordial powers surging within. Time is critical. The ancient archives state that when the Gorgon's Head Comet leaves the heavens above our world, the tomb shall depart with it, returning to another dimension. The tomb holds inconceivable evils and long-forgotten knowledge, hidden throughout recorded time by civilizations from across the world and from beyond. To protect the world, you and your companions must investigate these secrets and restore the balance. It is in your hands now to discover the secrets of the lost tomb. Hello everyone, Catweazle here. Welcome to the channel and welcome to our new playthrough, which, as you might have guessed by the speech at the beginning, is Secrets of the Lost Tomb by Everything Epic Games. So I'm really looking forward to this. The basic conceit behind it is we've got a tomb that sort of reappeared out of intradimensional space. Every time that this Gorgon's Head Comet comes around every 113 years. And the tomb itself is it's made up of a lot of different rooms from myth, legend and history. They've sort of been put together by ancient civilizations or ancient gods in order to take them away from humanity because they're much too dangerous for humans to deal with and they're full of unspeakable evils. So it's sort of been turned into some vast intergalactic prison in a way. It's full of treasures and artifacts that are really dangerous, as well as some horrible monsters and some horrible like gods and other things that it's best we don't mess with. But it wouldn't be much of a game then, would it? So we're going to go in and we're going to mess with them. That is the basic conceit behind it. As you may imagine, it's very 1930s based, so it's very Indiana Jonesy. While I read through some of the cards, for example, or we have a look at some of the investigators that we've chosen, you will see various homages to various films, books and TV series. So it's always rather fun to see if you can spot them as we go through. So that will be good fun. So what do we do? Well, we set up the game first, but just before I set up the game, again, I'm going to try and go through this really quickly. I'm not going to go into rules that much. I will mention things while we're actually playing, but this isn't a tutorial. If you want a tutorial, please stop watching now. I'm just geeking around. So I'm just going to have a good laugh and tell a good story. I will try and get the rules right, but I will probably get quite a few wrong. So any of you guys watching out there want to say, well, you got that wrong, please put it in the comments. I will try and fix it. But as it is, let's just get stuck in and have a bit of a laugh. Those of you that do want a tutorial, I must recommend Ricky Royal. He's done an excellent one, and there's also one called Learn to Play. You'll probably find it down the side. As soon as I put like Secrets of the Lost Tomb on, you do tend to get the sort of YouTube's clever enough to put some related videos at the side, so hopefully you will see them at the side. But it's Ricky Royal and Learn to Play. They are well worth a watch. As I say, I'm just having a laugh, so hopefully I won't get too much wrong, but I will make mistakes. Anyway, that said, let's go through the actual setup. Why am I going through the setup with you? Because I need to set it up myself, so you may as well be here while I do it. The first thing we've got to pick is an actual scenario that we're going to do. So I've already done that. I followed the guidance in the rulebook itself, which says to pick the Pharaoh with the blue eyes. Again, you already knew that because that is the name of the playlist. But the Pharaoh with the blue eyes means we have to set some things up first. So just before we get onto the basic setup, we've got to set up some things for the Pharaoh with the blue eyes. Let's have a look at the Pharaoh with the blue eyes. And here he is. His name is Raz Azul Ahmet, and he's a big boss. So he's got a thing there where he can obviously do the mummy's curse. What sort of mummy would he be if he couldn't curse you? And there is the curse of the tomb as well. So he's a nice guy. Look at him there. So he's got various things down here. I'll go through them quickly. This is the movement symbol. This is a courage symbol, a little medal. This is sort of attack, combat, the teeth. Then we go into defense, I think. Then we have his health, which is 33. That's nasty. Then we have another symbol. I'm not sure. Let me check. Here's evade. That's how much it is to evade him. And then that's how many soul shards you get off him. 17. But quite right too, because he is a bit of a beast. Look at him. So that is Raz. These are double-sided. So that's Raz, who we'll be facing off against. Not straight away, but a bit later on. Now, as part of this scenario, what we need to do is we need to pick out some monsters as well. So it's good a time as any to look at the types of monster. This is your standard, bog standard monster. They've got a yellow sort of background. This one is a keeper of the tomb, so you can see why we've put this to one side. It's part of the scenario. So again, this sort of yellow strip here, that's like any special abilities they have. And of course, slowed. So you can be slowed by this. This sort of Vitruvian man here, that's a status effect. That's what that means. So here we go. Movement 1, it's a zombie, so it's not going to be very fast. Courage 2, combat's 3, and is that sort of defense? Let me check. It is... I can't find it. Armour. Yes, it's armour. And then we've got health, then we've got the evade, and then we've got the soul shards. So these three of these guys, so we've had to put them to one side. Another standard monster that we've had to put to one side are two of these carnivorous scarabs. So you see they've got the whole Egyptian vibe going on. Now these are a swarm. We'll get through to that in the game. But generally, though this is one card, it will count as several scarabs once it actually comes out. We'll have to determine how many it is, but that's what a swarm is. So it'll only be shown by one card, but there will be more than one. Yes? So there's two of these, two swarms. So here we go. And again, that's its special ability. So up to 6 of them will sort of come out. Can move 2, courage 2. Its attack obviously depends on how many there are. It's got an armour of 1, health of 2. It's 1 to evade, and it's 1 soul shard each. So those are the carnivorous scarabs. And then we've got this monster, which is the Sphinx. But as you can see, it's got a red back. The reason it's got a red back is it's an elite monster. So this guy is a bit tougher. So there we go, he's a golem. And he's got special abilities. Obviously, the special abilities of these guys are a bit worse than they were on the others. So again, status effect, you can be stumped, and you can also be hexed, which isn't very nice. You've got a movement of 4, courage is 3, attack is 5, armour 3, health 6, evade 1, and soul shard you get 3. And there's 2 of these guys. They'll be knocking around. So those have been taken out of the big decks. The big decks are here. So those have been taken out because they are specially required in the scenario at certain points. What else has been took out is we have taken out some of these, which are artifacts. So we've got the Staff of Ra, so Mythos two-handed, and as you can see, if you've got this, you get various benefits. You get +5 to your combat and various other stuff. I won't go through it in great detail now. When we find it in the tomb, hopefully we will find it. When we find it in the tomb, we'll see how it works. There are the two others that we've got to find. We've got to find the Ruby Scarab, and we've got to find the Cowl of Anubis. So all these will help us in our fight against Raz Azul Ahamit. The more of these we have, the easier the fight will be. So we've got to find them. We've got to find these, but they're guarded. And you guessed it. The Staff of Ra is guarded by these zombies. The Scarab, guarded by the Scarabs, funnily enough. And the Cowl of Anubis is guarded by the Sphinxes. So we're going to have to run around. We're going to have to find these, because when Raz wakes up, we're going to have to try and kill him, because that's the only way you can win this scenario. So that is the scenario. We do have a timing mechanism. It's called the Comet track. That's here. It's currently at 0. It's sort of like a main calendar thing. And we've got till it clicks over to 6. When it clicks over to 6, we're in big trouble, because the big fella comes out. So by the time that goes round to 6, we need to have got as many of these artifacts as we can possibly find. Otherwise, we are going to struggle. So that is the Comet track. And that's there. There's also a huge tile here. I'll go through that next episode, because that is a journey to the tomb tile. It isn't in the core game. It's in one of the expansions that I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's in there, and it's just to make it a bit more difficult for you to get to the tomb. There are quite a lot of mods that you can use in this game to make it more difficult. It is very, very moddable. So this is one of them that came out in one of the expansions. It just makes it a bit more difficult to get to the tomb, and a bit more difficult to leave the tomb. So that's there. And with that, you've got to take some certain monsters out. Very similar to the scenario. When you're using this, you've got certain monsters that you may run into outside the tomb. So those are on there. But as I say, I will go through that in greater detail next episode when we actually start gameplay. I think that's all we need to know about the scenario, basically. We go into the tomb, we try and find these, and we try and kill this guy. Yeah, that is all we've got to do to win. To lose is quite easy. If we get killed, then we lose. If we run out of the tomb screaming, then we lose. And that's about it, really. So we've got to get in there and we've got to kill him. So very simple, no messing around. So that is the scenario in a nutshell. Probably go through it in a bit more detail as we're actually playing it, but as I say, I think that's all we need to know to start with. Right, general setup of the game. So we've chosen our scenario, which is the Pharaoh with the blue eyes. Then we've got to set up the starting room tiles. Now, there are 5 of them, but I've ended up with about 8. I'll tell you why but, as I go through. But basically, these are the starting tiles. So we've got the entrance tile, we've got Quetzalcoatl's Hall, and we've got Quetzalcoatl's Descent. Now, these are always set out. Whenever you enter the tomb, you'll have these 3. Sometimes you can take Quetzalcoatl's Hall out to make it a bit more difficult. You might have noticed there's a big purple symbol here in the middle. That is a soulmonger's symbol, and you can go to the soulmonger. He's a sort of, well, he's not a guardian of the tomb, he's just sort of guy who's in the tomb, but you can buy stuff off him with soul shards. If you remember when we were going through these monsters, I mentioned how many soul shards they had. Well, if you get soul shards off monsters, you can actually go to the soulmonger who's here, and you can trade them in for artifacts and stuff. So that's what that big purple symbol means. But these are the 3 basic entrance tiles. They go here. This is the first level of the tomb. There is another 2 tiles over here. The first one is the Pharaoh's Hall. And if you notice on Quetzalcoatl's descent, it's actually a staircase going down. Goes down because it is adjacent to the Pharaoh's Hall, which is on the 2nd level. So this is the first level. We can explore off this corridor, but should we want to go down to the 2nd level, it's dead easy. We just go down here and then we can set out the Pharaoh's Hall there. Underneath that, there is something called the Mongol Hall. That's not as easy to get to. There is no staircase to the Mongol Hall because the staircase has been reduced to rubble. The only way onto the 3rd level is by, I think you can teleport on there. There is a way to teleport on there, I think. And the other way is you can find a rope and you can dangle yourself down. But that makes it a bit more difficult to get back up. But we'll worry about the 3rd level when we get to it. There's also a couple more in there because I've got the Atlantis expansion, which actually has a level 4. As it was, I was thinking about umming and ahhing about taking them out. I just thought, sod it, I put everything in. You might be able to see a massive pile up here of tiles. There's about 70. About 70 tiles up there. That's what we'll be picking out, and we will be laying them round here while we explore the tomb. So you've got loads and loads of variety in the tiles at least. You've got tiles for everything. There are trap tiles, there are actually rooms, you know, from, you know, Avalon and from Mount Olympus and all sorts of crazy stuffs in this tomb. So they're all over there and we'll be picking those out randomly. They've all been shuffled and they're all in a massive pile there. Right, what else? So we've done the starting room tiles. We've got to organise the components. Now most of them are in a Plano box over there. We'll see those during play. But we've got to separate all the cards of the same types into various decks. So let's go through those. They've all been shuffled, but I'll just take you through the different types of card that we have. First of all, we've got this type of card, which has got a hat on the back. Now, these are your companions. Now, this is Odin the dog. So we'll be drawing companions because we have got 3 operatives that we're using. We've got 3 operatives of the Sacred Order of Perseus, and they all get 1 companion each. They might get Odin, they might not. I've just pulled him out for example purposes, so I'll put him back on the deck because we're going to have to shuffle him in. Everybody gets certain items, and for that we've got an item deck. So big treasure chest, you flip it over and look, it's a fedora. I told you it was all Indiana Jones stuff. So everybody will get starting items, but obviously you can also find items as you search through the tomb. This fedora actually belongs to one of our operatives who we'll be meeting later, so don't worry about it not being in the deck. The deck's still shuffled. I had to pull this out as a starting item. We'll go through that when we go through the actual individual concern, but that's an example of an item. We also have status effect cards. So here's one. As you see, it's got the Vitruvian Man on it. This one's adrenaline. Now it's physical and it's a positive. So this gives you a boost. But on the other side, you can also have a negative. As you can see, this is weakened and that is a negative status effect. So they're all pretty much double-sided. So these, you want the positive ones, you don't want the negative ones. So that's an example of a status effect. We've already seen a couple of these, but here's an example. Here's a quest anaconda. These are your standard monsters. You can tell because they're yellow backed. Yeah, double-sided. This goes over here. It's one of the starting tile monsters. Journey to the Tomb monsters, sorry. And here we have an example of a sort of epic monster. This is the Silverback Ancient, who's a beast. He's also on the journey to the Tomb tile, but hopefully he won't come out because he's really difficult. So he's nasty, but we've seen that sort of thing before. We'll put him down there. I mentioned the Soulmonger, who's got this purple sort of symbol here. Well, he's got a deck, and here's a Soulmonger card. Now, you don't actually shuffle these, because you just look through them, because he's like a vendor. So if you've got 8 soul shards, you can buy a circlet of mentality. Again, I won't particularly go through it until such time as we actually buy something. But as you can see, he's got some nice stuff. So if you manage to kill a few of the monsters, gather some soul shards, then you've got an opportunity to beef yourself up with some gear. So we'll put that back over here. As I say, it doesn't matter. Those aren't shuffled. Then we've got something called a tomb deck. And the tomb deck is this. So you can see it over there. I'm going to have to shuffle these again because I had to pull these out. There are 2 types. There's the green ones and there's the red ones. As you can imagine, the green ones are, well, they're not okay. They're still pretty bad, but they're alright compared to these, which are particularly bad. Now, this is one of the ways where you can set difficulty in the game. If you just play with the green cards, that's normal difficulty. If you play with green and red, that's intermediate. If you play with just red, that is hard. We're going to play with both. We're going to go intermediate, but it's just to give you an example of what they look like. I'll go through them in greater detail when we actually enter a tomb phase. It's like a Mythos card in Arkham or in Eldritch. It's just nastiness where the tomb fights back. So those are the 2 types of tomb card that you can get. Put that over there. I'll shuffle them in later. There is another large card, and these are called the story cards. So essentially, when you explore a room, it will have a symbol on it, and it can have a compass symbol, or it can have a skull and crossbones symbol. Now these cards, as you can see, are double-sided. The compass symbol means adventure, so these are nice, or not as bad. They still have a pass and a fail effect, but very similar to Eldritch Horror. You'll read the top here, you'll generally get a test up here, then you will get a success or a fail. Yeah, adventure, you've got a good chance of getting something good happen. Misadventure, well, that's not so good. So you'll get a horrendous test up here. You still get the success and fail condition, but generally success means that you don't die. Or you don't get something really bad happening to you. If you fail on these, then, you know, some real nasty stuff can happen. As I say, it's got 2 sides. There's loads of them. You can see them there. Absolutely loads of these. I'm not going to bother to shuffle them all again. I'm just going to plonk that right in the middle. So there we go. They have been fully shuffled. As you can see, there's loads of them. Again, I've got quite a few of the expansions and I just shoved them all in, man. So I don't think it'll make much difference. I think we'll be fine. Right, so that's pretty much all the types of cards that we've gone through. You've seen Raz, he's an example of a big bad boss. So we've seen all of these types of cards. So what's next? Well, we've got to pick our people. So let's pop across. Once we've picked our people, we will pick our expedition leader. It doesn't really matter in this case because we're playing solo. Now, you can play with 1 person and 1 sort of investigator. You can do 1-1. It's recommended that you use a chap called Lord Harrison Quatermanus III or something. And he's a bit of like, he's like Doc Savage, the Man of Bronze, but on steroids. He's got really good stats left, right and centre, and he is only meant for single investigator solo play. We're not going to use him. I'm going to use 3 investigators, and because, you know, let's have a look at a few of the actual types of characters that you can actually play. But there is a specific investigator you can use just for single solo play. As I say, we're not going to use him. We're going to have a look at a few of the other characters and see what they are like. So let's pop across and see who we have chosen. And here we are with our first operative, who is Heidi. Yes, good old Heidi DuPont. So here she is. She's looking very foxy indeed. And let's talk through what all this gubbins is. First of all, we'll go to the top. As you can see, she's got these sort of 3 bullets here and their casings. Those are her actions. And as you spend them, you just flick them over. Now, we have got 3 operatives, and normally with 3 operatives you would have 4 actions each. But I'm going to make it slightly harder for myself. We are only going to have 3 actions each, because people have said it is a little bit easy. So that's the way I'm handicapping myself. Hopefully it will make it a bit closer. That and the fact that I'm brand new to the game, so we'll have to see. So let's go through her actual player sheet. This is obviously what she looks like, but she's got several abilities. So first of all, she's got strength, pretty poor, 1. Her dexterity is also poor at 1, but she's got excellent knowledge at 5, excellent mythos at 5, and excellent movement at 3. So that's all very nice. She has got an audacity of 2. Now, what audacity is, it's sort of a way for you to try and achieve the impossible. This is what makes you a cut above the rest. So audacity will allow you to try things that normal mortals wouldn't. So you can do all your Indiana Jones type stuff by using your audacity. You can use it for things like re-rolls and stuff. Now, audacity, sometimes you can be tested on audacity. So if you use up all your audacity, because as you can see it's on a dial, if you use it up and then you get a test on your audacity and you're at 0, then you're in a bit of bother. So it does well to actually manage your audacity, and there are ways to sort of bump it back up. So she starts with 2 audacity, so not too good, not too bad. And she also has a health of 9. This is another dial here. So 9, not too clever, but let's see if we can't keep her alive. We've got 2 face punchers with our other operatives. So I thought what we'd do is make sure somebody was good at mythos and somebody was good at knowledge. So that is going to be Heidi. You may notice a little triangular token here. That is her search token. It's a triangle, it's got a green, a yellow and a red corner. The reason for that is when you first search, you will use the green, and that has got a separate little table, and that's quite easy, quite nice. You've got a good chance of finding something. But after you've searched once, it will go on to the yellow. Then you've got another table, and it's slightly got more nastiness in it. So although you can still find good stuff, there's a chance you may find something nasty. Then you will flick it again, and then you're on the red one. And the red one is you've got a big chance of finding something nasty. You can still get something good if you roll well, but it's just a way to mitigate, you know, people searching every room like mad. So it's quite a good mechanic. So first time that you search, brilliant, you've got a lot of chance of finding something. But the more that you search, ooh, you better believe you may find something pretty bad. Okay, what else have we got here? We've got these little yellow tokens. What these are for, we have special abilities. So Heidi has got a special ability here, which I'll just read out. It's called PhD. As a free action, remove a special ability token, which is one of those yellow tokens, to re-roll any upkeep check. So when we're during upkeep, if we do an upkeep check, sometimes you have to do them on things like items, for example. Well, if she makes a balls of a check, she can always use a PhD to do a re-roll. She'll get rid of one of these tokens. She can use it 3 times during the game. So that's what they are for. Her other special ability, a second one here, is life or death. Now, normal monsters, so that's the ones with the yellow back, will not move towards or do combat with you during the tomb phase. However, epic monsters, the red back ones, and guys like Ruz Azul Ahamet, well, they're immune to this ability, so they will attack and they will move towards her. But the normal monsters, the yellow ones, like these guys, they will not. So those are her 2 abilities. Now, she's got some starting items. Well, she's got one, and it's the Necronomicon. Now, she's pretty good because she starts with an artefact, so that's pretty cool. Most other people just start with items, but she's got an artefact. So, as you can see, it's an artefact. It's a knowledge artefact, and, well, it's a Necronomicon, isn't it? So let's have a read. So that star symbol there, it's an elder sign, and that means it's mythos plus knowledge of 3. Now what you can do is you can summon a yellow monster, a standard monster, and what that will do is that will fight for you. So if you manage to pass, you can get an appropriate creature from its deck and place near your items. When you do combat, you may roll the creature's combat score, which is your mythos. Remember, a mythos is 5. If you take damage, the creature absorbs the damage until destroyed. You take any overage damage. So essentially you get the buffer of the monster. The monster takes the damage, but as soon as the monster's dead, you start taking the damage. You may only control 1 creature at a time. During upkeep, this is that upkeep test I told you about, you've got a knowledge test of 2. That 2 there means you've got to get 2 successes on a knowledge test. Remember, knowledge is 5, so she'll be rolling 5 dice. And if she fails, she loses control of the creature. Take that creature card and spawn it in your room, i.e. it starts attacking you. So that's the Necronomicon. So we'll find out properly what that does when we actually get going. What else is on all this stuff? We've still got more stuff. We've got another track here. See all these little holes, and we can see we have placed a peg in one of them. Goes from -10 to +10. 0 here, and this is your courage track. It goes all the way around here. Now she starts with +2 courage, which is brilliant because when you bump into monsters you start losing courage. So even before you start combating them, you know, you'll wander into a room, some monster will come out, it'll have a courage rating, you will take that amount off your courage track. You can get courage back by resting, for example, and there are other ways to get courage, like if you defeat a monster, that sort of stuff. We'll see that during the game. She starts on +2 because she's a beast, and the good thing about it is as you go up you get benefits. So you see here, you know, between what is it, +3 and -3, it's fine, you don't get anything. But once you start getting +3 and above, then you start getting these bonuses. When you get up to +10, you get an excellent bonus. So if we ever get there, we'll see what it is. But conversely, if you start losing your courage, then bad things start happening and you move into these zones. Finally, if you get to -10, you will flee the tomb. Fleeing the tomb's bad. So we want to keep courage up if we can. So I think that's it. She's yellow, so I've set her up as yellow. She's got a little standee, and I've put her on a little yellow standee. Just to let you know, these don't come with the game. As usual, like my Eldritch Horror playthroughs, this is just so you can see them properly on the video. Stands do come with the actual game, but these make it a bit more obvious on video, so that's why I use these. So that's all. The stands that come with the game are perfectly acceptable, but they're not very easy to see on video, so that's why I've given her a coloured stand. Right, the only thing left is, because we've got 3 investigators, 3 operatives, we are allowed 1 companion. So a companion will help us out in the tomb. What would Indiana Jones be without companions like Short Round and Salah and people like that? So all these guys will get a companion. If we had any more than 3 operatives in the tomb, we wouldn't get a companion, but that's why I chose 3. I thought we'd at least have 1 each and you can see how they work. So let's flip this over. Who's she got? She has got Sir Lawrence of Britain. Oh, you see this? I think what this does is he gets rotated, so we can only use him a certain number of times, I think. So +1 to story checks. Remember the story cards, those big cards with adventure and misadventure on. And +2 to lore checks. So a lore's good anyway, so that's excellent. So you rotate it when you pass any story roll. This ability has 3 uses only. So if you use it as a +1 to story checks, and then you pass the roll, you're rotating. Once you have got 3, once you've used him 3 times though, that is it. Okay, so that's Sir Lawrence of Britain. But I don't think you discard him. I just think you can't get the +1 on the story checks anymore. You will still get the +2 on the knowledge checks. So that's pretty good for her, because her knowledge is pretty good. And it'll help with the Necronomicon. So she has got Sir Lawrence of Britain. We'll keep this here, because we're going to have to use them for other investigators. So there you go, that is Heidi. Let's have a look at our next investigator. And here we are with our next investigator. We have James T. Temple, who's our green investigator. So you'll be able to tell him because he's got a little green stand to match his green shirt. So, James T. Temple. Let's have a look at him. Oh, by the way, they all have like a biography on the backside of these actual investigator sheets. I'll go through those as we actually play the game. They are a bit lengthy and a bit involved, so I thought, you know, just every so often I will actually go through one of the investigators' backstories as part of an episode. So we'll do it that way rather than do it all now. Right, anyway, James T. Temple. What's he got going for him? Well, let's have a look at his dials first. His health is 14, so that's pretty good. And he's got 5 audacity, which is excellent. You've already seen the sort of search token. We don't need to go through that again. And let's go through his actual abilities. So he's got 2 strength. He's got 3 dexterity, 2 knowledge, 2 mythos, and 3 movement. So he's quite even on his abilities. But I think he will be pretty good for the team. What else do we have? We have another of these special abilities, which has got 3 charges on it. So it's Deadeye, this one. So he may combat a creature up to 3 rooms away, so that's 3 tiles away. If the creature is not in an adjacent room, the creature does not do damage. So that's excellent. So essentially he's going to use his rifle here that we'll go through. So he can use that 3 times to hit something up to 3 rooms away, which will be excellent. His second ability is he is a rifleman, so he gets +2 combat when using 2-handed dexterity weapons. His rifle is a 2-handed dexterity weapon. We'll go through that shortly. Again, he gets 3 actions as per everybody else. His actual courage is +1, so he's quite courageous as well. And that's pretty much it for his actual sheet itself. But he does have, obviously, some stuff. Now, these aren't artifacts, these are normal items, but he's got 2 of them. So, first of all, he's got this 2-handed dexterity weapon, which is the M1A1 rifle. Dexterity 2-handed. It gives him +5 combat. When using this weapon, you may do combat from either an adjacent room or the same room as your target. Follow all other combat rules as normal. Swamp rats, not swap rats. I don't know what that means. But that is probably that is probably one of those, you know, that'll be a reference to something that I'm just not getting. I'm sure somebody will put it down in the comments. And he also gets the map of the tomb's rooms. Again, it looks like we will be rotating this as he actually uses it. So let's have a look. He gets +1 movement with it. When you explore a room, you may turn the card. Discard this room tile and draw a new one. So if we don't like the look of the room that we draw, he can move this round one and we can draw the next tile. You must use the next room tile drawn. This item may only be used once per exploration action. When you have used this item 3 times, you discard it. So this one you do actually discard. Sir Lawrence of Britain, you don't discard. This you do. So those are his 2 cards. And that is him. But he needs a sidekick. He needs a sidekick. Who's he going to get? He's got Heidis Barbarossa. Well, look at him. +2 to all trap checks. As you may imagine, the tomb is full of traps, so that should be helpful. You cannot be forced to discard this particular companion. Brilliant. Oh, another thing to mention about companions, they've also got health. So you can let your companion take the strain for you if you get attacked. Yes? So he's got 14, which is pretty good. What did Sir Lawrence have? Sir Lawrence, he had 10. But ideally, you'd like to keep your companions. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're going to die or your companion's going to die, it's goodbye sidekick, isn't it? So, Hey Reddit Barbarossa goes with James T. Temple. And that is it for him. We will see more of him in the actual game. So now it's time to have a look at our final investigator. And here's our final investigator, who is Christopher St. George, and he's got orange. Why? Well, mainly because it isn't yellow and it isn't green. That's why he's got orange. So again, he should be quite easy to spot on the board. There is his token. So he looks very smart, doesn't he? He looks like sort of Arthur Daly of the 1930s, and I'm sure he'll do a great job robbing the tomb. So that's Chris. Let's take a more in-depth look at him. So he too has got 3 actions. His audacity is 4 and his actual health track is 15. So he's quite tough as well. The usual search token there. His strength is good at 3. His dexterity is excellent at 4. Knowledge not so good at 1. His mythos is not too bad at 2. And he's got 4 movement, so he can zoom around a bit, which is excellent. The good thing about his 2 special abilities is they are infinite. So let's have a read of what they are. His first special ability is Keep the Change. So as an action, he can discard his Tommy gun, which you'll see in a second, and deal 10 damage to any target creature ignoring armour. So if he gets in a tight spot, he can discard his Tommy gun. Basically, he just empties the clip at whatever it is that he is attacking. His second ability is that he is a gun nut. So anytime you draw a treasure, you may look at the top 3 cards in the treasure deck. If one of them is a gun, you may take that instead of the top card in the treasure deck. So he looks at the top 3. If one of those is a gun, he can have that. So that's brilliant. Oh, his courage. Now, he's not as courageous as the others. He's got -1. So he's a bit of a wuss. But not too bad. Let's see if we can get his courage up early on in the game. So that's Chris. Let's see the stuff he's got. So he has the Tommy gun. Dexterity 2-handed weapon, which is great. +4, and it's area combat. Basically, you just spray lead about, baby. Succeeds on a 4, 5 or 6 in combat, so this is brilliant. It's like it being blessed. It's very similar to Arkham and Eldritch, this game. A success is a 5 and a 6, and but although you do have a critical fail on a 1, but we'll see that during the game. Upkeep, you've got to roll a die. On a 1 or a 2, you discard it. So that's pretty bad. So once a turn, you know, you essentially, thematically, you're seeing whether you have run out of ammo or not, I suppose. So that is his Tommy gun, but still a nice weapon to start with. And as you can see, he looks quite snazzy with his fedora on. So let's have a look at it. It's armour for the head, +1 to all story checks. Remember, story checks are those large cards with either adventure or misadventure on the back. Discard to re-roll any 1 roll. So we might have to do that at some time. You lost today. That doesn't mean you gotta like it. Now, that is an Indiana Jones quote. There we go. So I'm sure that other quote was something that I haven't noticed. Please do tell me what it was. Okay, so here we are. We've done all that, and he needs his sidekick. Here we go. Let's see who he gets. Could do with somebody funky. We've got Georgios Triantafylidis. Obviously Greek. So let's have a look. So +3 to combat checks when using dexterity. So he's using his Tommy gun, that's dexterity. When you gain this companion, search the item deck and take the grenade item. Woo! Let's do that. So I can get rid of this deck now. Put it over here. But Unfortunately, it means I've got to go through this deck, which means I'm going to have to shuffle the bloody thing again. Let's have a look for a grenade. Pineapple grenade, that must be it. Okay, give this a quick shuffle again. Let's have a look at the old pineapple. So, there we go. Action. Choose either your current room or an adjacent room, then roll a die and add 3 to the result. Deal that much damage to all creatures in the targeted room, ignoring armour. Brilliant. Other adventurers in the targeted room must make a dexterity check. If they fail, it's -5 health, so we might not want to chuck it in a room with another adventurer in it. Discard after use, funnily enough. Right, so there we go. So he's got a pineapple grenade and Georgios. I won't try and say his second name, because it's difficult. So those are our 3 adventurers. We've got Heidi DuPont, we have got James T. Temple, and we've got Christopher St. George, and a motley bunch they are. They are the guys who are going to be going into the tomb eventually. We've got to do the journey to the tomb first, which is that big tile, but as I say, we will go through that next episode. Then we'll get straight into it. Hopefully we'll manage to get into the tomb, and then we can start actually playing the game. As I say, I'll go through quite a lot of things like combat and exploration and movement and all the rest of that. We'll go through it during the game. It's already been far too long of an explanation, so let's just get cracking next turn. But that is it for the introduction and setup. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I didn't bore you too much and you enjoyed it. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the subscriptions, for all the views, and for all the likes. It is very much appreciated. Thank you. All of you who've been to Board Game Links to upvote the site, thank you very much as well as everybody who's been to BGG to like the videos, to comment on the videos. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much. If you've spied any errors in setup, as I say, this is a complete blind playthrough. I may have ballsed up somewhere. Please let me know. I think that is it. Yes, it is. So I hope you will join me for the next episode, which will be the journey to the tomb, and we will hopefully get into the actual tomb itself unscathed, and we will actually start searching for these artefacts, the Staff of Ra, the Ruby Scarab, and the Cowl of Anubis, so we can take down the big baddie, which is Raz Azul Ahamet. Hopefully we will be able to do that. I do hope that you join me next time. Until then, this is me, Catweazle, signing off. Toodaloo.